Welcome to our cannon firing demonstration. My name is Cameron. I'm joined here today by Trevor. We're going to be your cannon firing crew for this demonstration. The cannon that we will be firing is this model 1841 6-pound smooth bore field gun. Now, can anyone repeat that back to me?
18641 speed gun.
6 pounds. That's really the most important part about this cannon. That's why the soldiers, well, instead of calling it their rather technical name of Model 1841 6-pound smooth bore field gun, they will instead simply call this their 6-pounder. Now that's not though because the cannon itself weighs 6 pounds. In fact, the barrel alone is about 880. So what about this cannon then do you suppose does weigh 6 pounds? The ball, yes. This cannon can take a 6-pound cast iron cannonball and fire it to a maximum distance of about 1 mile. So if you look out over the wall, that will be about out to Round Island out there. Now that may seem like quite the impressive shot. However, keep in mind in this cannon's name, this is a smooth bore, meaning there is no rifling on the inside of the cannon to control the spin of the ball. Rather, being slightly smaller than the bore of the cannon, the cannonball will simply rattle around. Whichever direction it bounces last is the direction it will end up going. So at that mile-long range, the smallest target Trevor and myself could hope to hit with any reliable accuracy is about the size of Round Island. So it is by no means an accurate cannon. However, by the 1880s, these soldiers here at Fort Mackinac do not need an accurate cannon. This is the headquarters of the Mackinac National Park. The only boats in the harbor will be ferries full of tourists. Seeing as we do rather want them to safely make it to the island, we won't be using this cannon for anything other than ceremonial purposes. What those ceremonial purposes will consist of will be salute shots. Special cannon shots with no cannonball and a smaller amount of gunpowder that you would use to, well, for a wide variety of occasions. So that could be for simply the raising of the flag in the morning or its lowering in the evening. You could also, though, fire it for more celebratory purposes as well. For anything ranging from a major national holiday like the 4th of July to a local event like maybe an officer here at Fort Mackinac getting married, or even the first boat of tourists after the winter. Just about anything will do. Now with that though, today we're going to be firing this salute shot to welcome you all here today. Before we do that though, before we can fire it, we of course need to load the cannon. And in order to load it, we need to clean it to make sure that Trevor does not have a very bad day when he loads in the powder charge. Now the first step will be to take this leather thumb patch, cover up the touch hole in the base of the cannon. Now this prevents air from getting in through that touch hole and stoking up any sparks or embers that may be in the cannon. Now that I'm doing that, Trevor can take his first tool, the auger or gunner's worm, and run it down into the base of the cannon, twist it, pull it out, and that should bring with it any solid debris in the base of the cannon. Now, looks like he found some historically inaccurate aluminum foil. Well, historically inaccurate, it is, however, much safer than the historically accurate cloth. Because unlike cloth, aluminum foil does not burn. So that does make it rather safer as we move on to our next step. Now the next step is to use the wet swab, basically a very large sponge, dip it in the bucket of water hanging from the cannon's carriage, and run it down here into the base of the cannon. This will cool the cannon down in the case of repeated firings, as well as putting out sparks, both by being wet as well as creating a vacuum. So as Trevor pulls it out, you hear a thump. Now that thump is the sound of the vacuum discharging. It means that we are safe to now load in our powder charge, which is about 4 ounces of black powder today. Now that is, unfortunately, a touch on the small side. However, the full 10-ounce salute charge or 20-ounce combat charge, they're both very loud. Loud enough to scare horses downtown. Because we have a fair amount of those, we do like to try and keep it a little on the safer side and use a slightly smaller but still fairly loud charge. So with that, we're loaded. We're going to move the cannon up to the wall, its firing position. 1, 2. And now that we're in firing position, there are only 2 steps remaining. First, Trevor will take a brass pick known as a gunner's pick or a gimlet, run it through the touch hole, which will tear a hole in the charge for our ignition device. Now, the ignition device today is called a friction primer. It is basically a very small brass tube full of finely ground black gunpowder with a pull pin and a chemical called mercury fulminate at the top. So when you pull that pull pin, it will ignite the very friction-sensitive mercury fulminate. Mercury fulminate will then spark, which will ignite the gunpowder in the tube. That will send a directed explosion into the base of the cannon, where it will ignite and set off our main powder charge, welcoming you all here today. And so with that, it looks like we're just about ready to fire. So you will, at this time, want to either cover your ears, those of loved ones, or if it's where your priorities lie today, get your cameras ready. With that, we only have 2 commands to fire this cannon. Those are, ready, fire!